Summer 1975. A nightmare awaits me. I am being recalled to Non-Torm headquarters. Do I have to go back to the hell again?
Hello again, and welcome back to Games with Dad. Today, we're taking a look at what would happen if you took the arcade game Cabal and smashed it together with Stanley Kubrick's Apocalypse Now. That's right, today we're looking at NOM 1975 on the SNK Neo Geo. A fun fact, this was the first Neo Geo game to ever come out, I guess. And also, I just learned this like a couple minutes ago. It came out the day I was born, so that's kind of weird. So yeah, the story goes that you are this unnamed soldier, or soldiers if you play in two-player mode, who are being sent back to Vietnam in the year 1975, which is after the United States pulled out, because there was a scientist who was left behind who is apparently being made to create a super weapon, not unlike Metal Gear, against his wishes. Or so we think. There's a lot of callbacks to the early 1980s Vietnam movies like Full Metal Jacket and Apocalypse Now. Like the first level is you're on a boat going up a river, which is most of what happens in Apocalypse Now. There's the whole Born to Kill from Full Metal Jacket on the main character's helmet, at least in the opening cutscene. So this is what we call in the gamer industry a gallery shooter. Other types of games is like Cabal. Probably the most well-known one is Wild Guns. That one got a remake a couple years back. First one was on the Super Nintendo. So yeah, in NOM 1975, you have 6 distinct stages where you're moving through the jungles and cities, etc., of Vietnam, trying to find this captured scientist. You start off, like I said, on a boat in the river, not unlike Apocalypse Now, where you're kind of learning the ropes. It's not too hard. I will admit I died a couple times on the first stage, but you know, that's getting used to the controls, etc., all that kind of fun stuff. After that, you are thrown into the fire. The intro boss to stage 2 is probably one of the harder bosses, I think, in the entire game. Well, I guess everything is an instant death, but it has these 2 arms that can grab you, and it's still shooting at you. You've got other things shooting at you in the background. It's really kind of difficult to dodge. It really is kind of a quarter munching part of the game where they get you accustomed to how everything plays at the very beginning, and then they kind of throw you off the deep end for a little bit to try and get some more quarters. It's very sneaky of you, SNK. And then after that, it's got a city, not unlike what happens at the end of Full Metal Jacket. After that, though, my favorite stage, you are on an airplane. Somehow they're able to parachute enemies onto your ship. It's very, very strange, but also very cool. Probably my favorite stage of the entire game. After that, probably my least favorite stage is the airport, where apparently you land and just raise hell against all these airplanes and everything there. Died a lot on this stage. At the end of the airport stage, you learn that the scientist's daughter is being held at a munitions factory, which you have to go in and try and rescue her. And right as you're about to rescue her, she gets shot, unfortunately, so you don't really learn anything. But then you fight the boss, and then you capture like a general, and they're like, there's a spy among us, what's happening? And they don't tell you anything. He gets shot, but then you're like, oh yeah, no, he's over here. I think there's a translation issue going on at this point in time, because you never really learned that the doctor that was captured wasn't actually captured. He's just developing a super weapon kind of on his own. He's a little crazy. That's never, like, it's inferred, but it's never told to the player. It's kind of weird. I think it's probably just a translation thing. And then after that is going to be the jungle leading up to the enemy base on the cliffside. So all in all, the music is okay. I would give it a C. It's definitely militaristic. It fits the theme, but it's not nearly as big of a bop as, say, like the Metal Slug games, which came much later, and then the SNK fighting games also have really good music. But it's for being the first game on Neo Geo hardware, it's okay. The presentation, now I think the colors are pretty muted, which is a knock against it, but the animations, particularly for the player sprite, are really good. They're pretty detailed. There's a lot of fluid motion there. Like when you're shooting to the left, your guy turns to the left, and it's very incremental. So there's a lot of sprite work that went into that I don't think a lot of people would notice. And also, the translation's bad, but I think that actually kind of helps it in a way. It's kind of hilarious. And then the fact that they basically blatantly ripped off like still images from these famous Vietnam movies from the 1980s doesn't knock it down any in my book. The controls are okay. So the A button fires your gun. If you're not using that, you can actually walk around, but when you hold down the fire button, you're moving your reticle around. The B button throws grenades. These take a while to come out, but they do a lot of damage. You get 10 grenades per life, which is pretty generous, considering that I don't think I used all of my grenades in a single life. Because they take too long to come out and you're almost constantly dodging, which leads me to how dodging is handled. Now, you would think in a game like this that dodging would be its own specific button. There are 4 buttons on the Neo Geo. Have 1 button for dodging. But no, the C button is a combination of running and dodging. And you can only dodge by holding diagonal, like down left or down right. It's something that you learn, but I think if you're making a game like this nowadays, instead of having a run button, just have the character movement just be a little quicker than like the slower walk that you have. And then you just make the C button just the dedicated roll dodge button. The dodge is great though. You are invincible while you dodge. There's even spots in the footage here where I basically get hit and you can see like a little blood puff. But since I'm dodging, it doesn't matter. You just have invincibility frames. Apparently, the best way to cheat death is to do cartwheels. I also think the reticle moves probably a little too slow. They probably could have sped it up. I didn't have any issues adjusting things on the fly. It could probably be a little bit quicker because there's a lot of... They throw a lot at you starting from the beginning. It's probably much easier in 2-player than it is in just as a 1-player experience. All in all, I'd give the controls a C, the presentation a B, the music a C, and then the difficulty, I think it's probably, again, more doable with 2 players. My biggest issue with this game, though, is at the end of the game, after you get to the enemy base, and you scare the doctor off of his wheelchair, and he goes and runs off, and then there's a mini-boss where it's 2 women that were taken straight out of, I think, Full Metal Jacket. After you beat them, at that point it is the final boss where you're facing the doctor in his giant mech thing, and he shoots bombs at you and also has a laser. Very difficult to dodge both the bombs and the laser. Sometimes the laser's got a bead on you and you have to dodge, and if you dodge the wrong way, the bombs will get you, or you could be in the middle of a dodge from the laser, and if you dodge right, the bombs are going to get you, and if you dodge left, the bombs are going to get you. It's just the placement can really screw you over. I don't think it's a very fair final boss, and to add on top of that, it doesn't matter how many coins you've put into the machine at this point, how many continues you have the rest of your lives, which you only start with 2 from every continue. You have that many lives to beat the boss. And in a game where one shot equals 1 death, like you get hit once and you're dead, very unforgiving. To give you a reference, getting up to the final boss on the 6th stage, it took me 25 credits. So per quarter, we're looking at a little over $6 worth of change. If we're doing a quarter per credit here. And then I put in a save state, and I tried from there, right when the final boss pops up. I tried 15 times and I was unable to beat the boss. Now maybe that says something about me. So really my only knock against this game is the difficulty at the very end. I think everything else is pretty fair. Some of the bosses aren't great. A little quarter munchy in some spots where they really ratchet things up. But other than that, it's a fine game. It's okay. All in all, I think I would give it a C. So that was Nom 1975, the first game for the SNK Neo Geo system. What did you guys think? Have you guys ever played Nom 1975? Are there any other belt scrollers that you think I should take a look at? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you want to see more, and thank you for watching Games with Dad.